Hello and welcome to The Editor's Eye, and we're going to be reviewing all of the Marvel films, and in detail. I'm an editor, I work in the industry, and this is an insider's view of how these films work. And today I'm going to be looking at Captain America, the First Avenger. That's the first Captain America film in the MCU. And let's give you a mark for this film. It's not a great film, it's just a bit above the average, only ever so slightly. It's one of my least favourite in the MCU films, and that's a 5.5 out of 10. That's not a great mark, and I'll explain why. Now, all of these early films in the MCU feel like they haven't quite found their feet yet. They're finding their house style. And that means very often these early films rely on other films. So in Hulk we had the straight action film. And with Captain America, they've gone for a different film. They've gone for a Spielberg film. And in fact, they've gone for a specific Spielberg film, Indiana Jones. Captain America really is Indiana Jones light.
Wait! Go get him.
There's a generic problem here, because the Spielberg Lucas 80s films are already themselves pastiches of an older form of filmmaking. Cinema one-reelers from the 40s. You're kind of going through a nostalgic look, and that's just empty aesthetics really. So you end up with a film that feels very aesthetically derivative, and perhaps even worse than that, it's a film that lacks narrative interest. This is a film that kind of just plods along in a single direction the whole time. You can look at the story once Captain America's become Captain America. He just fights Nazis and then seems to fight some more Nazis, and it just seems to plod on. But look at the start of the film. This is a part that some people praise, but I mean, you're spending this whole first act watching Steve Rogers become Captain America, but all the time you know he's going to become Captain America. I mean, look at how the Red Skull gets the Tesseract. He just kind of piles through a wall of them and finds it in a bit of wood in a door, and then he's got it for most of the rest of the film. That's not good storytelling. There's no dramatic tension there, no character exploration. And then at the same time, the film tries to fob you off with dramatic tension about the fact that he actually has a red skull. Like that's an actual story twist? I know he's got a red skull. I read the comics, and if that wasn't proof enough, the name? Clue? And yet we have to wait quite a long time until we get really badly made up Hugh Weaving as the Red Skull. Wow, great revelation. There's something emotionally lazy about the thinking here. It feels like producers are leading this film, not a director. You can imagine them saying, "Nazis with ray guns, it'll be great!" Or, "Tony Stark's dad would be around at this time, so let's put him in every scene we can." No, it needs more than that. You don't just chuck random ingredients into a pot just because they taste nice individually. It's disappointing. You just get a sense that there's more attention paid to the look of things, to the surface of things. You know, shots that aren't there to show things about the characters, but to show off bits of the set. I call it set porn. You're just sort of looking at things that are nicely made. And that's a big sign that this is a film that cares more about how it looks than about how its characters feel. Take the quite famous alleyway scene. This is a scene to show you that Steve Rogers doesn't give up. So he goes into an alleyway, has a fight with someone, gets hit, and he gets up. And then guess what happens again? He gets hit, and he gets up. He gets the shield out at one point, but that doesn't go anywhere. You learn nothing new in the scene apart from this same point that Steve Rogers never gives up, until he's rather pathetically rescued at the end by his mate, Bucky Barnes. I am feeling for Steve Rogers, in that I'm also getting hit over the head constantly with exactly the same thing, but I'm not sure that's what the filmmakers are going for here. It's a weak one-note scene, but don't even start me on the grenade scene. Again, a one-note scene. We get it. Steve Rogers is selfless. But the editing in that scene, oh, how long does it take him to jump on that grenade? And then how long does he sit on it for? It's just ridiculous. I can kind of bet what's gone on here. It's a scene that looked great on the page. It worked, and then once it was filmed and in the edit suite they looked at it and it looked very plain and ordinary. So they've tried to expand the moment, make as much of the rushes as they can, really Constantine at the time, so it sort of spreads out over a long period and feels bigger than it does, but it just really doesn't work. It's clunky and it just looks awful. And here it is again, and bonus marks for spotting the audio at the end dubbed on "Dummy Grenade" for the really, really stupid audience members. This is a scene and a film that patronises its audience.
Grenade! Get away! Get back!
Another part of the film that was received a lot of attention at the time was the CGI for Steve Rogers in his small state. It just doesn't work for me, these scenes. They've not really thought about the character, they've just thought about dimensions. So in the scenes when he's in the car with Peggy Carter, he just sits there looking like a little kid. I mean, think about who this character is, Steve Rogers. He's proud, he's sitting there with a woman. He would be holding himself up more strongly, he would be sitting up further in his seat, his shoulders would be prouder. But instead they've just sat the extra, the body double, they've just sat him there, not moving. Just stay still and we'll stick a head on you. There's no real thought about the characters themselves in the CGI work here. It's surface filmmaking.
Women aren't exactly lining up to dance with the guy they might step on.
I don't want to be too harsh on the film. It has got some comedy to it, some funny bits. It's got some scale and adventure, and a sense of ambition really that the Hulk in particular lacks. And that's why Captain America, even though it really annoys me in a lot of places, I put it above the Hulk. Nonetheless, this is another signpost for Marvel saying this is not the way to go with the films. Find your own route, find your own voice. That's the end of my review. Thanks for listening.